Let's get right into it, y'all.
It's a whole nother mindset. But you can have a congregation, you can have a school, but when you're dealing in the streets, sometimes situations become political. Sometimes brothers click up. See, because a spiritual brother, if there's a mistake or he commit an offense and need to be disciplined, you can show him a scripture. Hey, brother, scripture say, and he would take heed. But some brothers, you have to go beyond the scriptures. You have to actually really show them. And that's what we was getting back in the 80s and the 90s. Getting a lot of brothers from out of Brooklyn, Bronx, Harlem, Manhattan, from all over Queens. So you had to really show them. And then the politics came into play. Okay, and we all was back there doing the political era. Okay, now I want to move on, but I'm gonna talk to y'all about that a little later in this class. Now, in Daniel the 12th chapter, in the first verse, Bibbins taught that Michael, when the scriptures say the archangel Michael shall stand up, Bibbins taught that the archangel Michael is Christ. See, so that what's really showed me that he really didn't know the seriousness of Christ Yahweh's position like Mashah, Ariyah, and Yaquab did, and the other 7. So,
and I want to say that I've heard that from other people. I've heard that, you know, that thought that the archangel Michael was Christ. And I want to say it's either, I think Seventh-day Adventists believe that. It's either Seventh-day Adventists or Jehovah's Witnesses believe that also. And I remember a while ago, man, Elder Hall was talking about that some of the elders used to read out of the Jehovah's Witness teacher edition books. It was a red book and it was a green book. And they were gleaning a lot of lessons from books from the Jehovah's Witnesses. A lot of doctrine was coming from Jehovah's Witnesses from their teacher edition. I forget which book it was, but it said there was 2 books. They'll give one out, whether it was the green or the red. But a lot of information was gleaned from those books. And I'm just saying that to say maybe that doctrine also might have came from that also.
He taught that Michael was the archangel Christ. And some teach that Michael is a representation of Christ. And also that teaching is out there now. I mean, you can go look it up. That Daniel the 12th chapter, the first verse, the angel Michael is Christ. Okay, now, but Mashah, Yaquab, and Ariyah, they went into those scriptures and they went into the Hebrew and they brought out who Christ was, his position, and they brought out Yahushua, his position, his purpose for the nation. Now we have to remember now, Bibbins was a part of a just Torah teachings. Okay, and when he was already learned, but when he got with Rabbi Matthews, and when Bibbins separated, he started teaching the gospel. He was into the New Testament, but his understanding about Christ wasn't as deep, and it wasn't on the level as Mashah, Ariyah, and Yaquab. Y'all see that? Okay, so be blessed that you came through that gate. Okay, and then learn from the mistakes, and you try to walk in the right direction. Okay, if your leaders in left field, you don't be like that. And you learn from the mistakes, from their mistakes, because at that time, there wasn't a lot of people there. We had one little small room, and a Passover was no one about 20 people. Then we rented the room across the hall. Then one of the Passover was on 135th Street. The next Passover was you come out of the school on 125th, you make a left down the street. It was in a building down the street. And one of the biggest Passovers was where? Columbia University. That was back in what, about 93, 94 or something? And at that time, the Wu-Tang was there, RZA was there. See, that was a large Passover. You see that? And that's where Killer Priest got his beginnings. His name was Karamiah. Karamiah, yeah. And matter of fact, yeah, his name was Karamiah. Yeah. Matter of fact, Karamiah, Killer Priest, was in Tahar's camp. That was before GMS, though. He was in Tahar's camp. Now, Bibbins ended up at 125th Street, and Rabbi Matthews was at 123rd. And guess what? Both of their schools was called One West. So it was like a competitive type thing, but it wasn't as negative as we doing today. You know, putting about 30 videos up and so forth.
Now you see, even in its inception, that there was kind of some competition, and when Bibbins left, he went around the street like he ain't go, you know, in another city. He ain't go on the other side of town. Nah, he went right around the block and named it the same thing.
See, it was a competitive type thing. They both wanted that. They was pushing one another to be that number one, and the community looked at these brothers. They was loved by the black community. You believe that? It's like some of them hate us to death now, but back then.
And he's right about that, and that's because, too, you know, we were doing, you know, or they were doing a lot more in the community. These weren't just schools, but these were almost like boarding houses. Also, people were staying inside of these schools. People were getting off of the streets. They were taking people off of the streets and giving them purpose, and giving them a place to stay, giving them a way to make some money. And so these were a beacon. They were a beacon of light, and maybe we definitely can glean from that and get back to that, where the community is loving us instead of the community hating us. You know, and he's seen both sides. Like, now he's like, man, the community really don't like us now. Let me pull it back just a little bit.
You believe that? It's like some of them hate us to death now, but back then they loved the Israelites because they did a lot for the communities.
Come on.
Now, Bibbins had One West 125th Street, and Rabbi Matthews had One West 123rd Street. Check this out. When you come out of One West 125th Street, you come out, you make a left. Take a few steps, you at what? Fifth Avenue. And you make that right, you walk across the street, and if you keep walking, that's West 124th Street. But it's a park. That's Mount Morris Park. So what you do, you make that right. You walk a few steps, but it's buildings there. You can't go to the right to try to get back to One West 125th Street. You got to keep moving, but there's a street there. You make that left on that street called Mount Morris Park. And you take another step, right on the corner, there's 123rd Street. And right on the corner is One West 123rd. That's Bibbins School. What I said, One West 123rd. That's Bibbins School. And just right over by the way, no, that's Matthews School, Salakim. That's Rabbi Matthews School. And right over by the way on 125th Street, that's Rabbi Bibbins School. See, that's how close they were. You see? So now Bibbins was also teaching the 12 tribes chart. And I know a lot of our brothers and sisters got a problem with the 12 tribes chart. It's like I'm saying, I'm just putting a little history out. Okay, but that 12 tribes chart, it wasn't Ariah's chart. Bibbins was teaching it first. Bibbins was teaching about the northern tribes. He was teaching about the Cubans, the Puerto Ricans and so forth, because I used to talk and meet a lot of his students back in the 80s. Brother Jacob, Brother Big Frank. And I used to see a lot of his students in the streets. And they used to tell me a lot of stories and give me a lot of information. Matter of fact, there was one brother, his name was Brother Jacob. He showed me the book that Rabbi Bibbins wrote. The book is called Marks of a Lost Race. Bibbins wrote that book. Matthews wrote books. See, these brothers, Matthews was going to college and they was a theologian school. These brothers was studying, they was reading.
Yeah, these brothers was in seminary and everything. I think we went over the books of a lost race. I bought that book. If you buy this, it's 70% of camp doctrine. Once you read that book, you're like, oh man, this is exactly what we were taught.
So for Bibbins to get his knowledge, Bibbins was studying the 12 tribes. He was in the James Adair book. Bibbins was studying. So this chart was
the Esau thing was a little different though. That was one thing I did notice. He was saying that Esau, in the book, he was saying that Esau, he reckoned it to this dude, that Elisha's servant, I forget his name, start with a G, I think. But he was cursed with leprosy. And he kind of links the white man to that curse with leprosy rather than Genesis 25:25, like a lot of One West does.
Bibbins' teachings, Ariel just took it to the next level. And you also had other brothers that was teaching about the 12 tribe chart. They even went even more deeper into the 12 tribes chart. They brought out a lot more information. Now, going back to the book that Bibbins wrote called Marks of a Lost Race, I looked at Bibbins' name, and I always knew it was Bibbins with two B's. Okay, a lot of people put the V there, but it's Bibbins, Bibbis, because in that book, his name, the B's in his name was connecting with the B's in the Bible name, Bible. His name was up under the word Bible, Bibbins. So that's how I know and remember that it was the B's in his name, not the V's. Okay. Now, like I said, Bibbins and Rabbi Matthews was studying. And then Rabbi Matthews was a well-known figure out there. He was around Adam Clayton Powell Jr. He had a relationship with Elijah Muhammad. Charles Rangel used to visit his congregation a lot. Y'all know about Charles Rangel, right? He also was close with the borough president, Manhattan borough president at that time, Percy Sutton. And Percy Sutton loved the Israelites. He loved Matthews so much that he made it a Rabbi Matthews Day. And I think it's still in operation today. That day is June the 23rd. So y'all pay close attention to June the 23rd and see is that day is still in operation. Okay. Now, Matthews and Bibbins.
Imagine that they gave an Israelite his own day. Rabbi Matthews Day, June 23rd.
They came under the teachers of Christ, but did they embrace it? Okay, Rabbi Matthews was teaching Christ. You see that? A lot of the older brothers back at that time, they came out of churches. A lot of them was part of the Marcus Garvey movement. They were Garveyites. You see that? A lot of the Israelites, they was with Marcus Garvey.
And that's, I say Harlem was a hub back then for the Nation of Islam, Black Panther, the new Black Panther at this particular time, the NOI, the Garvey's movement, beacon. Harlem was a beacon. Harlem was a light, and so Israelism also came out of that movement around that 125th. Very historical place. And from what I've heard is, it's kind of getting gentrified now. And they had the Apollo. I think the Apollo was over there somewhere around there. But a lot of these movements spurred from them few blocks there. A lot of movements, a lot of Black Power movements spurred from that. And we weren't no different.
For the year 2000, and the understanding of that came from Isaiah, the 6th chapter.
Now this is going into One West, and they started they had this prophecy of the year 2000 being the last year. Excuse me. the year 2000 being that the world was going to be destroyed during the year 2000. And this brother here from GOC, used to be from GOCC, he used to be an elder there. He's giving the breakdown, which is in Hosea, where they got it from.
For the year 2000, and the understanding of that came from Isaiah, the 6th chapter, that after 2 days I will restore you, and after the third day you'll live in my sight. So he figured that, the third day is after the year 2000, so that they kind of, came with that understanding.
That was it. And a lot of people still kind of gleaning on that. I've still heard, people, come to me with that breakdown. And they not even from One West. They don't know nothing about One West. But, that Hosea 6, the second day. And so that's what they thought it was. The second day, year 2000. The third day they're going to live. After these 2,000 years, we're going to live with him. It's over with. Nuclear fires happened during the year 2000. You're going to die.
That Christ is going to return in the year 2000?
All of us. That was sanctioned by Haria. You teach us on the street, and 34th Street camp. I was in 34th Street camp, right in front of the bank. What's the name of the bank now? The name of the bank? Citibank. I was out there teaching that for almost 10 years, from 1989 to 1999. I was teaching that.
Oh wow!
And I was ordered. I was ordered to teach that. If I wasn't teaching that, they'll kick me out.
If you weren't teaching it, you get kicked out. It was sanctioned.
Excuse me.
You want to comment on this?
It's just that's 100% accurate. You used to have what you called camp class, where they drilled exactly what was to be taught at the camp. Only higher ranking teachers could kind of freestyle out there on the street. Everybody else had they had a pitch, and so what you heard was always rehearsed and authorized. Okay. Out there on the street. So that is 100% accurate. That was one of the, if you want to call it, dogmas of the Hebrew Israelite teaching, was Y2K.
And that is to totally annihilate America. America will be blown off the face of the earth by the year 2000. It's talking about Judgment Day.
Christ is coming back on the white horse. And he's coming back. And he's going to take down the white man, the Edomites. That's why your Pope is down in the ground.
And you see everybody had on garments. Everybody kind of uniformed. And you see here, even in their school, they have a whole darn, what do they call it? A mural, painted, showing that, Yahushua coming back, stomping out the Pope.
It's going to happen by the year 2000.
Dude smiles.
You really?
That's it, yeah.
These places that's going to be hit in this thermonuclear war is America.
That's our elder Apostle Tahar of GMS. We ain't forgot.
That's why your Pope is down in the ground. It's going to happen by the year 2000.
Dude smiles.
You really?
That's it, yeah.
These places that's going to be hit in this thermonuclear war is America. America's going to be wiped off the face of the planet Earth. That's going to take place before the year 2000. That's right. That's going to take place before the year 2000. That's right. That's going to take place before the year 2000. That's right. America has less than 628 days. America has less than 628 days.
That's Tahar.
America has less than 628 days before this country is taken out in thermonuclear destruction.
This kingdom, America, is going to be destroyed before the year 2000.
Evil kingdom that God spoke of in the Bible. And all you so-called white people, your condemnation, you are condemned to what? Hell. And you're going to be in hell, you're going to be oppressed before the year 2000. Christ is going to come back.
Museum America is going to be destroyed before the year 2000 by thermonuclear destruction.
That's down with the Madison Avenue Israelite Church. This is a brother I came up with in the same camp back in the days in the early 90s. We was in the Spirit of Israel camp. That was led by who you know today as General Yohana. He was the general over our camp.
Now you saying General Yohana was the general or was the leader of their camp that they came up in. This is them almost in teenage years, maybe. Hold on, let me move my face. And this is the brother Maharka. Remember we did the video about the sister who was sentenced for murdering her husband. That was an Israelite. He had dealings with the sister. We did that, and we did the apology video because we had some of the details messed up. But this is a younger him. All right, back in the day. Okay, he been in this thing almost 30 years, I want to say he said. But this is him, on fire. Back in the day. And they doing a weekly show on cable network television. Like they, before this YouTube stuff, they were selling cassettes. They stayed on TV. They stayed on certain TV shows. Something like the Maury Povich of that time. But they stayed on them shows, man. It's countless shows that they were on, and they had TV, airtime on TV. I'm sure they had radio also. Which, some still try to do. Not to the level that brothers had it back then. You can imagine the influence and the pull that would have. Brothers are seeing themselves on TV.
We taught on 50th from Broadway and also Fordham and Grand Concourse on the island. Okay? So we was in the same camp. We lived together. We ate together. We argued together. I mean, me and him was like... twins, man. You know what I'm saying? When you saw him, you saw me.
And Tazadakia, that brother there on the right side, he ended up being the one after there was a severance within the 125th. He went with the ICJC or something like that. He ended up heading over there and being called by Arya, one of those three heads, those three leaders, the surviving leader at that point, because what do we call them? Yacob and Masha, they had them passed away, so it wasn't no one left but Arya. I think Arya's still alive. And Arya even stated and vouched that this man here was the Holy Spirit, was the comforter. All right, what's the comfort? And we'll get into that a little bit.
All right, vice versa, man. He was a good brother back then, man. We had a lot of fun. We had a lot of good times, man. And this video is just a reminder of how we was just young men, man, coming out of the street, coming out of the philosophies and lives, man, and how this word changed us to be young men, man, have dignity and pride and confidence of who we are, man. And you can see it in the way that we even dress, man. You know what I'm saying? A work in progress, but the same thing is, but still the same. Young men that lives was changed by the word of the Most High and by the men back then that was over us and watching over our souls, man. And it's just a great thing to be able to see this video, almost 20 years later. Okay, so this video was produced in 1995. For a show called Black Watch. I believe that was the show, but we had cable access shows that we put out every week.
And General Yohana of ISUPK, he has a YouTube channel, and he has a show that he calls Black Watch that he does, I think, once a week.
And myself and Tazadakia was doing shows as well as teaching in the camp. We was already teaching in the camp early. Okay, so we was very strong brothers in the word, man. You know what I'm saying? We was very strong brothers. We was a very strong team. Okay, and this video was a testament of us as young men challenging Khalid Muhammad on the streets of 125th Street back in the days, man. And we ran up on the brother and we totally smashed him with the word of the Most High. So we was on fire, and we came back and we said we're going to do a video and talk about our encounter with the so-called great Khalid.
Now, Khalid Muhammad Khalil Muhammad was at that time he had been kicked out of the Nation of Islam, and that time he went over and he was the leader of the new Black Panther. And there are allegations that he was killed. He was murdered by some people. But he was a historical figure, not as big as Malcolm X, but up there, maybe a couple slots, a couple notches down. But these young brothers, just to see that they coming up there and they trying to cut Khalil Muhammad with the word, and it's kind of just the zeal of Israel, man. But it's almost like some young brothers trying to cut Malcolm X. Imagine brothers running up on Malcolm X, somebody that historical. Khalil Muhammad was, like I said, he's not on that level, but he is up there.
Get your popcorn, get your yayan, get your juice, get your teas, whatever you got to do, and enjoy this video, because Maharakar been here, man. Okay, for the gainsayers, man. All right, woke up in this truth in 93, heard the truth in 92, man. All right, so
he been in this thing 30 years.
I'm about to play the video, and I hope you guys enjoy it. All right, this is all praise to the Most High by Shum Amashiach Yahawashah. Let's get it.
I'm still here. God hell, he cast them away. Let's get Jeremiah about the sun and the moon and the stars. And that's what I cut one of these little old Muslims with. You have to run out of rock to your grief. You know, high priest around and get some more scriptures. You say to me with that simplicity, well, in 2 Kings, it says that he moved them out of his sight. Daddy, if you don't stand on God, listen. You fool. If you don't stand on there, you will try that the Most High even move them on the right. But you too simple to read on down. Give me that. Jeremiah, come where you at. Jeremiah 31:35. Thus says the Lord, which giveth the sun for a light by day. Now, no God gave the sun for a light by day by his word to the storm. Read on. And the ornament of the moon day, and of the stars for a light by night. Read on. Which divideth the sea with the waves thereof roar. Read on. The Lord of hosts is his name. Read on. Is those ornaments depart from before me. Said the Lord, and those ornaments, the sun, the moon, and the stars, depart from before me. When you go outside, you look and see if the sun is still up there. When you go outside, you look and see if the moon is still up there at night, and the stars. If you don't see no more, then what? Read. Then shall the seed of Israel, read, also shall cease from being a nation, shall cease from being a nation. So why are you coming with that simplicity? Why are you coming with that stupidity? Then also the seed of Israel shall cease from being a nation. Now give me a back in the 2nd chapter. Rebecca 2:18. Read on. What prophet the greatest image? What prophet the greatest image? 2:19. Woe unto him that said to the wood, or what to the dog? So woe unto him that said to the wood, to be stupid and dumb as hell, and destruction is seeking him, away to wood. Read on. On what to the dumb stone, for the Most High for them taking down our lives. We came from the Hebrew word, our okay? Because that stone, a dumb stone, is just what to do. They'll take that dumb stone away and do what? Arise, you know, that shows you. It ain't gonna teach the damn thing. That's why you simple and foolish as hell. You gotta watch out shows and these different teach. That stone ain't teaching nothing. The organization ain't teaching nothing. What they teach you to run around with a bow tie on, with a newspaper in your head? Give me Matthew. Give me Matthew.
All right, y'all. That was the end of that 3rd chapter. We'll come back and finish up on this last chapter here.